What's up, you guys? John here. So I was in New York City, in Manhattan, just a little while ago, before everything got crazy, and this city was just beautiful. It was the nicest. I don't honestly, it couldn't have been nicer. Weather was flawless. Had a hotel right off Central Park. It was amazing. But now, it's like a living hell over there. You have 15,000 vacant apartments in Manhattan. 15,000. So to put that to context, last year was 5,600. So 3x the amount of vacancies. Crime's up 300%. You have 24 billionaires that got together and wrote a letter to de Blasio basically saying, wake up, bring some common sense to this city or we're going to lose everything that made New York great. And we'll see what happens with that. But let me tell you, you got Stephen Schwarzman, $500 billion in assets under management, a part of this letter. Stephen Roth, related companies, and Vornado Realty Trust, who bailed out Jared Kushner on a $1.8 billion office building deal during the last market crash. You have all these heavy hitters. Related companies, for example, they have 70,000 apartments, 70,000 apartments, 50,000 of which is affordable housing. So you put that into consideration. These people are heavy hitters. They're bringing a ton of tax revenue and a ton of benefit to the city. But we'll see if the politicians actually do anything. My bet is they won't. And one of the main key indicators of this is the stupidity they brought to the table with Amazon in 2019. Amazon was going to bring 25,000 employees, all six-figure earners. They would have brought just a ton of tax revenue to that city. Amazon was going to spend billions building out infrastructure for the distribution, and it was just a real big win for that city. But they lost Amazon, and Amazon went somewhere else. That being said, they then followed it up with very strict regulations, which made it even harder for landlords to run a successful business. De Blasio now is talking about raising taxes because they're in such a deficit. So you have all these people leaving the city. They're talking about raising taxes. Crime's up 300%. And who wants to live in a city paying $4,700 per month on a median price two-bedroom apartment when crime's up, stores are closed, restaurants are closed, museums are closed, and it's just simply unsafe and it's no longer cool? Who wants to spend all that money when you're not even going to go into the office? You're not able to experience and live the city that it once was. So you have all these people leaving, and it's just going to progress, to be honest with you. You got elections right around the corner. You got a lot more uncertainty coming, and just so much craziness happening. But in addition to all that, the studio apartments, they're $2,700 for a studio. Rents dropped 9% on a studio. So let me put that into consideration. If you were to go buy a multifamily apartment in New York, you'd probably buy it at like a 5% return, maybe 6% today, maybe 9% drop. So that means if you bought a building in the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, even 10 years, you probably bought it with a 5 or 6% return. Maybe over time it went to a 7 or 8% return. Now you're losing money across the entire building if those are the drops that are happening consistently on vacancies. And repair costs are going up. It's just getting harder and harder and harder for these landlords to survive. They offer all these protections for tenants with the eviction moratoriums and all this, and that's all well and good. But the same handouts are not offered to landlords. Landlords are viewed as Mr. Moneybags, and they should be able to have everything squared away because they're a part of the problem and they're a greedy capitalist. Well, at the end of the day, most of these landlords are going to get really hit and hurt hard, and it's by the city. And I personally believe it's almost like mandated bankruptcies. They're mandating closures of businesses and properties, and it's all a shame because what's going to happen is it's going to crush any type of confidence investors have in that city, and they're not going to want to put their money in that soil. And it's just going to get harder and harder and harder for these politicians to continue down the direction that they're going. So if you are a Democrat, let's say de Blasio, you're running a Democratic city, and you offer a lot of different social programs and rent control and all these things to help low and median income earners. what you end up doing is you end up buying votes essentially, because all these people will be very loyal voters and they'll do whatever they can possibly do to keep you in office. So you gain this very loyal following, which is ultimately going to probably be 80 or 90% of the city, because most of these people live in rent control apartments. Then what happens is if you try to change any of these rules, they'll all turn on you on a dime. So you can't change the rules, and you keeping these rules in place hurts tax revenue for the city, because rents are low in the buildings, and if rents are low in the buildings, the values of these buildings decreases, and the property taxes are based on the income of these buildings. So if the income's low, so are the property taxes, and the income from the property taxes goes to the city, to the schools, to the police department, street services, everything. So now what they have is they have a very poorly managed city, turning away people like Amazon, pushing out all these billionaires from the city, increased crime. And this is ultimately going to take away the cool factor in New York. What's happening now is when these people leave, they say, hey, you know, I was spending $5,000 to live in New York, but now if I spend $5,000 and I apply that to a mortgage, I can go get a property, a house with these low interest rates for $1.3 million and live like a baller almost anywhere in the state or in the country. And that's what's going to happen. So these people are leaving. They get a really nice place in comparison to what they would have otherwise been able to afford in the city, in Manhattan. And they start working remotely. And New York loses them forever. So as this continues to happen, the values in Manhattan are going to drop big time. I mean, we have 15,000 right now. We've only been in this for about 7 months, and we're just in stage 1. So as this continues, I think this number is going to increase heavily, and rents are going to come down a lot. But this could also be a great time to start looking at Manhattan and New York real estate. I know you would say, well, why would you look into it now? I'm not saying to buy now, that's for sure. But look into it, learn the areas, learn the markets, because what could happen is prices could really plummet in that city in the next year or 18 months. And if it plummets to a really low price, to a point to where it's almost like free real estate, it might make sense to consider it. But right now it's still so overvalued. Manhattan, pretty much all of New York, is just very overvalued. Something's going to happen. Something's going to have to give to bring this city back. And I'm wondering what it's going to be, what's going to happen, and how this is all going to play out. This is an exciting time to be a real estate investor and to learn these markets, because for me, I've been everywhere over the last while. I mean, nearly every city in the country, studying real estate markets, seeing what's happening, seeing which areas are growing. And this is going to help me greatly in this upcoming recession, because I'm able to apply everything that I've learned throughout the country and make a smart and informed decision as the prices follow the natural trend and progression that we're going right now. That being said, if you want to learn about real estate, I'm going to ping a free real estate playlist for you to begin your education in real estate investing. If you have any questions at all, you simply just drop it down below. I'll always answer you guys. And hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to learn more about real estate, passive income, and business. All right, guys, until next time.